recently ran a poll over on my community page asking you to vote for what we were watching today. And when I tell you that this poll was close, it is insane how close this poll was. We're talking 2 votes maximum between the top 2 movies on the list, but in the end, Insanity from Japan won, and I can't say I'm mad at that. We know how much I love an insane Japanese movie here on this channel. It is like, if you want death games, like horror comedies, or insane Japanese horror comedies, I'm your girlie to go to. But if you don't know anything about Tag from 2015, let me quickly fill you in. Tag from 2015 is a Japanese surreal action horror. Mitsuko, a young student, encounters a series of horrifying accidents set in alternative realities where people wind up dead in the most horrific fashion, while she becomes less certain of who she is and her once normal life. If you're new here, I go by Hordes, and if you're not new, welcome back. I talk about horror movies here on my channel on Mondays and Fridays. But as always, when it comes to watching movies that I have never seen before, I'm now going to go and watch Tag off camera. So that way, if you too want to watch the insane, surreal Japanese action horror, nothing will be spoiled for you, because nobody wants to watch a movie that you've just watched somebody else watch from start to finish, and I keep it spoiler free on this channel, because nobody, and I mean nobody, likes spoilers. How the hell do I review what just happened? I don't even know what just happened.
What the hell happened?
Not many people seem to be aware that Tag is actually a remake. Tag is a remake of The Chasing World from 2008, and it is actually not just a standalone movie, it's a whole damn franchise. There is actually 5 movies within the Chasing World franchise that came out between 2008 and 2012. And there is some kind of similarity going on between the two, but there is also a lot of glaring differences. So it's not exactly like Tag is a direct copy of the Chasing World movie. The first glaring difference is, in the original Chasing World movie, the people that were the targets of the thing that happens, which is going to be so hard for me to try and explain, is everybody who has the surname Sato, which happens to be the most common name for a second name in Japan. Approximately 1.9 something million people in Japan have the last name Sato, and in this movie, it is high school female students. So there's about 4 million, just under 4 million high school students, regardless of your sex. And I say sex because sex is what you are assigned and gender is what you feel. But you get my point. It's about the same kind of number of people that are being targeted by the killer wind thing. The other glaring difference is its budget. And let's just say Tag has got an exponentially larger budget than the original Chasing World movie, because if you have seen the original Chasing World movie, you'll know it's about 12 pixels and a smear of Vaseline kind of clear. And Tag, thankfully, is not that.
Money, 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 money.
Just like the original movie, Tag deals with the concept that there are parallel universes and timelines, and there are an infinite number of them, and they all run parallel to each other, and that things will happen in these universes that cause ripple effects in the other universes, and think the butterfly effect, kind of. But this is brought in as a concept into Tag much earlier than it is actually brought into the Chasing World, which is definitely for the better, because that first movie in the Chasing World, dear God, did they bring that in late, and I was left so confused when watching that movie. And that is basically all that I can tell you about this plot without giving you any spoilers, because it is one of those movies where you are going to have to give it your undivided attention to know even a fraction of what is actually going on in this movie. Like, the first time you watch this movie, just expect confusion from the get-go. Like, you will not know what is going on. And I still don't know what was going on. And I think that's intentional. I hope that's intentional. I don't want to be the only person out here that's like, I have no clue what this movie was about. It's surreal. It's really surreal. And again, as a science and logic loving lady, surrealism does tend to confuse me, because I can't settle for the idea of just because being an answer. Like, I want to know why.
I don't understand, bitch. I don't understand.
Lots of things happen in this movie that make you question, is it happening in this reality? Is it happening in a parallel reality? Is it a dream? Like, so much will have you questioning everything that you are watching, which isn't necessarily a bad thing either. The character Sue, I don't know how to pronounce her name. It's S-U-R, it's spelled. She sums it up best, and that is, life is surreal, don't let it consume you. And all I can say is, girly pop, that's probably the best advice that you can give anybody in this movie, because anything that can happen is absolutely going to happen, including a man with a peg head turning up that looks like he belongs in the Demon Slayer anime. Just so you know, there's a lot of running in this movie. It is chase scene after chase scene after chase scene. It's running the movie. That's basically what I mean. It's running the movie, and anything that can happen will happen. So that's your plot. I don't want to assume, but there are some things sprinkled in throughout the plot, which to me as a queer lady was incredibly glaringly obvious. And that is to do with the character of Mitsuko or Izuki or Kyoko. Like, just go with it. Just go with it. Like, it will make sense if you've seen the movie. And it seems to be this theory of this character is being pushed into, like, heteronormatism. Like, she's not allowed to be the queer loving lady that she obviously is. If you are staring lovingly at your best friend, who is also staring lovingly back at you while you're having a pillow fight, girly pop, you aren't bestie friendies anymore. Like, that's your girlfriend. This movie is gayer than a pride float full of drag queens, is basically what I'm getting at. And every time that I find a movie that comes from Japan that has obviously queer presenting characters, and I'm saying queer because they never actually put a label on it in this movie, so I'm not going to say, oh, she's a lesbian, when, you know, pansexuality exists and, you know, there's multiple different brackets, so we're using the umbrella term. But to find a movie that comes from Japan that is like, here's queer ladies and we're not ashamed of them being queer ladies, like the movie Live a Leaf, I'm always going to champion the movie Live a Leaf, because, believe it or not, Japan is the only G7 country in the world that does not have same-sex marriage as a legal option at the moment. Like, you cannot marry your same-sex partner in Japan. There is a loophole where if your partner isn't from Japan, you can get married to them in their country, but just not in Japan, which is wild to me considering this is 2025 and it is 10 years later than when this movie was originally released. It's certainly a feminist movie, and if you've seen the end of this movie, you'll know absolutely why I'm claiming that sentence. The 10 minutes at the end of this movie, like, chef's kiss. And I don't understand people that don't want to be feminists. Like, what's wrong with equal rights for everybody? Like, people who don't like feminists only say that because they're attracted to men that don't like feminists. Like, I'm putting that statement out there, and you can think about that one.
Nina, you called out Candy.
It does have a better ending than The Chasing World, and it has a completely different ending to The Chasing World. But I think part of that is also because Tag is a standalone movie, and The Chasing World is a franchise that was trying to set up, like, oh, there's going to be more movies. Tag feels very complete at the end of it. Like, you can make of it anything that you like, but it's at least a finished movie with a lovely bow on the end of it that says, ta-da, we're done now. It's very gory and it's very violent, which of course appeals to my twisted little soul. Like, I love a fire hydrant level of blood, and this movie gives me that, along with a woman that is held together by electrical wires, which was not something that I was expecting. It has wonderfully questionable CGI, but then I'm somebody that watches a lot of Japanese movies and loves wonderfully questionable Japanese CGI in horror movies, so of course this was going to appeal to me. Like, there's so much about the, like, gory and violent and that side of this movie that I can 100% get behind. Like, give me the gory, give me the over-the-top, give me the wild, give me the extreme wild, let's go for it. Like, the opening of this movie, that's how you hook me with your movie. Like, the fact that so many people literally get chopped in half by murderous wind of all things. Like, I did not see that coming. That opening is how you grab your audience's attention, because wow. And if you're wondering why the soundtrack of this movie sounds so familiar, it's because it uses the same piece of music that you hear all the damn time in The Walking Dead.
Different, but same.
In the end, I'm actually going to give Tag from 2015 a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would have probably given this a 3 if the ending hadn't have been so damn good, so it gets an extra half a star for that. My science and logic brain cannot wrap my head around what the hell I just watched in this movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I have no idea how I'm even supposed to describe this movie to you, because I've looked at what other people have said about this movie, and everybody seems to have come to this, like, the same conclusion, and that is, I have no idea what happened, but it was great. If you love surrealism, you will have a field day with this movie. Just putting that out there. So, as a science and logic brained person, maybe not as much as if you can suspend your disbelief and just go with it. I'm going to have to get creative with a couple of these movie names, but this is also the same director that did Anticorno, Cold Fish, Strange Circus, The Club, is it Noriko's Dining Table? And the TV show Tokyo Vampire Hotel, which if you haven't seen it, go and watch Tokyo Vampire Hotel and come back and thank me later, because that show is great. But my opinion isn't the only one that matters, which begs the question, should you personally watch Tag from 2015? If you like your horror movies flavoured with parallel universes, surrealism, queer ladies, teachers with guns, feathers, or anything that is listed here, you will probably like Tag from 2015. So there you have it, my initial thoughts and my review for my first time watching Tag from 2015. And this was a wild one, and it will probably take me a while to actually get my head around what happened with this one. If you've also seen it, I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are on it down in the comments section down below. And if you are interested in watching it, open the description bar below the video. There will be a link to justwatch.com so you can find out where it is streaming in your country. If you would like to know where else you can find me, I am also over on Instagram and Letterboxd at HordesOfHorror, where I post every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I talk about here on YouTube. But speaking of YouTube, I will be back on Monday with another solo movie review, and this time it is time for another one of the 6 from the movies that I wanted to prioritise watching this spring, and we are off to summer camp for spring break with Lumberjack Man. So until next time, bye.